Hello, TNL fans. I'm here to talk about the state game that just happened this past weekend. I'm going to preview the Clemson game, the ACC title game coming up this Saturday, and I will have to talk about the rankings once again because the rankings have been problematic all season long. All season long. But we'll get to that in a second. Carolina beat NC State last Saturday by a score of 45-34. Carolina led after one quarter, 35-7, and it really wasn't a game from there. That first quarter had everything. Our defense was keeping NC State off the field, with the exception, I think, of one explosive play, which led to their touchdown. That was it. And every time Carolina touched the ball, we ended up in the end zone. The running game, our O line set up so many big holes, and our running backs were just juking and jiving all over the place. Elijah Hood had 220 yards on 21 carries, I believe. TJ Logan had two long touchdown runs. Even Brunson came in on a couple carries and he got good yardage on those. So everybody was feasting. Um, Passing, we got a big passing play down the field to Mac Hollins. That first quarter was everything. I think we ended up with 293 yards after the first quarter, something like that. And that just really set the tone for the rest of the game. What I thought was interesting is why. This is not what I find interesting. It's to be expected. Of course, State fans really believed that they were still in that game, like in the second half. And I think that was a quote from Roy or somebody saying, "Yeah, I love how State fans thought they had a chance, they never did." And I agree with them. For the State fans who do believe they had a chance, State never had the football with a chance to make it a one possession game. Let me repeat. State never had the football with a chance to make it a one possession lead. And the only reason why I was as close as it was because we get the y'all two turnovers. Elijah Hood fumbled the ball and Marquise fumbled the ball. I think both times were deep into our area of the field. So that was the reason. That combined with our cushion defense, because there comes a certain point where you're like, we have games down the road we need to worry about. We're not gonna sit here and put like 100% on this game like that. If we have the game in hand, we'll play cushion defense. We're gonna make you work for yours, burn some clock, and get the heck out of here. And that's what our defense did. Like Jacoby Brissett was converting first down after first down after first down, but he was running for his life back there. And at that point in the game, late third quarter, fourth quarter, that stuff was not going to get it done because it was burning all the clock, and it wasn't fast enough. So Carolina did what they needed to do. They jumped on State, really never let up. And at no point in that game did I think that State stopped UNC's offense like that. I thought our offense was in control of its own destiny that entire game. So that was a complete, I don't want to say complete game, but that first quarter just really set up everything. And our team really went to Raleigh and just hushed that crowd. So that was big. Now we're going to talk about the Clemson game. Okay, the game's in Charlotte down here. Clemson is 5.5 point favorites. Carolina is ranked 10th in the rankings. We'll get to that in a second. Clemson, of course, is number one. What I like about this game is that we match up well with Clemson. I think Carolina's going to do a whole lot better against Clemson than the average person does. This game is really, it's all about the rushing game, really. Both sides. Um, for when UNC has the ball, our rushing game needs to be competent. It needs to be on point. Elijah Hood needs to be getting his yards, and if Clemson's focusing too much on Elijah Hood, then Marquise has to make them pay for it. Clemson's D line is the strength of their team, and they have very athletic guys. So the East West stuff that we do may not work for this certain game. But I can show you games or tell you about games where Clemson's given up they've given up their fair share of yards through the middle. So they can be had as far as rushing is concerned. And there's no reason for me to believe that our offensive line can't do the same. Offensive line shown all season long that they got it, that they know what they're doing. Like even when things were not going well in Virginia Tech, it wasn't necessarily because our offensive line was getting beat. It was because our offense wasn't executing. So the rushing game is really all about what we do really between the tackles. I think this game for Carolina is going to be what happens between the tackles as opposed to what happens outside of it. Now, of course, you have to do the outside stuff to keep Clemson honest. Because when they key in on one, you got to burn them for it. You got to make them pay. But in addition to just for the matchup, I think the running game is Carolina's bread and butter. Like when the rushing game is on point, everything just falls into place. And I've said that time after time after time. And it remains the same here. Rushing is our bread and butter. And if we're able to rush on Saturday, it will set up everything else. And based on what I've seen from our offensive line, I really do believe we'll be able to move the ball in Clemson, and I believe we'll be able to score points. That's just based on what I've seen through 12 games. On the flip side, Deshaun Watson is a beast. I think people call him the best dual threat quarterback in the nation. But if I'm Carolina's defense, the strength of our team is our secondary. And the part that needs most work or that's not performing as well as we want it to is the defensive line. If I'm Gene Chizik, and I'm pretty sure he'll be thinking the exact same thing, probably even more so, I'm taking away Clemson's running game. I want Clemson not to be in manageable second downs and third downs. I want them to have to throw into our secondary. And Deshaun Watson is completely capable of making throws, really against any defense. However, you want to match your strength against their strength. And if we force Clemson into third and longs or obvious passing situations, that will be advantage UNC. Because we've done a pretty good job of getting off the field when we get teams behind the chains. This team's clutch like that. Also, red zone defense. When Clemson gets inside the 20, or I think Chizik calls his red zone 13 now, we got to make sure they walk away with field goals and not touchdowns. So it's all about forcing Clemson to be inefficient with their drives. Getting them behind the chains and forcing them to be inefficient. And the bread and butter of Clemson, I think, is their deep pass. And the best thing our defense has going for them is their secondary. So that match is the matching up. We match up well. And I don't say that to say we're going to blow Clemson out because I don't believe that. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that Carolina has a much better shot of beating Clemson than a lot of people think. And it's starting to become a topic now, probably at this point just for the sake of college football playoff drama. But it's a real thing. When you look at these teams, look at who they play, look at how they play, they match up well. So I expect a really good game this Saturday. And I think Carolina's going to leave it all on their field. We'll see what happens. But so far, so good. It's been a terrific season. 11-1. Coastal champs, state champs. We have not lost since the first week of the season. So it's been a good season for us. Let's get into these rankings. Okay. Carolina is number 10 in the college football playoff rankings. And on his face, and I say this over and over again, on his face, that number 10 is not bad. But when you look at teams that are in front of them, and you look at what could potentially happen down the road, it's problematic. And let's rewind to the very first set of the rankings. Carolina had just thrashed a Duke team that this Duke team would have been ranked if not for the 8 laterals against Miami. And they came into Chapel Hill and Carolina blew them out. It was 66-31. Very next, the Tuesday, everybody's getting excited. They're like, I can't wait to see what Carolina's going to be on these college football playoff rankings. Because we got ranked in both the AP poll and the coaches poll. And then all of a sudden, we're nowhere to be found. And that just really set up all the disrespect that Carolina's been getting. What they say is that bad loss in week 1 to South Carolina, I think Jeff Long said it was that bad loss against an SEC team that's near the bottom of the SEC. It was week 1. And if you look into that game, you will realize that Carolina dominated that game and they gave it away. But we don't get that benefit of the doubt. I don't know if it's because we're Carolina or what. Like, had we been Ohio State, do you think we're number 10 right now? If we're Alabama, if we're Georgia, are we number 10 right now? I don't believe that. And that FCS team, y'all can miss me with that. And I'll take this from what an ESPN analyst said, or contributor, David Hell. He said he likes to think of wins as three categories. There is the elite win category, which are wins against top 10 to 12 teams in the country. There are good wins, which are wins against bowl eligible teams. And then there are expected wins, which are FBS teams that don't make bowl games and FCS teams. They're all one and the same. Whether you as good as FCS team is probably equivalent to a terrible FBS team. Like, you cannot schedule Idaho, New Mexico State, and get the benefit of the doubt, while Carolina schedules A&T's only lost 2 games this season, and absolutely get demolished because A&T's on the schedule. Like, that can't happen. And I'll set this up just for the rankings as is. Carolina is number 10. Number 9 is Florida State, and I cannot for the life of me understand why Florida State is in front of Carolina. Florida State has 2 losses. One of their losses came against a 3-9, I believe, Georgia Tech team that kicked 6, or the block kick that went for a touchdown, and that's just a problem. It's a problem all the way around. Like, if I was to break down wins like that 3-tier system, UNC right now would have, of course, 0 elite wins. That's the big argument for us. We have not beaten anybody. 0 elite wins. We have 5 good wins. Pitt is bowl eligible. Duke is bowl eligible. Miami's bowl eligible. Virginia Tech is bowl eligible. And I'm missing one. State's bowl eligible. We have 5 good wins. 6 wins are against teams, those 2 FCS teams, and then the 4 FBS teams that won less than 6 games this season. Let's compare it to Florida State. Florida State has 0 elite wins, 5 good wins against bowl eligible teams, and 6 expected wins. They didn't play 2 FCS teams. They played Texas State, and Texas State might as well be an FCS team. And they're an FCS team and everything but the label. So I don't understand why they're in front of us with their 2 losses, one to a team that we beat, and a bad loss added. That doesn't make sense. But it all started when the committee decided that Carolina was not worthy of the first rankings, because that's where Carolina is right now. While the strength of the committee is to be able to pull in and pull out and make sure that the 4 best teams make the playoffs, it's not supposed to be like a poll. But Carolina is being treated like a poll. The only reason we move forward is because other teams move back. It's because other teams lose. It's not because Carolina wins or Carolina's being impressive. And that is a problem. Now, let's hypothesize a scenario in which Carolina beats Clemson on Saturday, okay? Now the discussion for the playoff spot will become Carolina versus Stanford versus Ohio State. Okay. As I mentioned, Carolina will have 0 elite wins, 5 good wins, 6 expected wins. Ohio State, go back to Carolina. Carolina, with the win Saturday, would have 1 elite win against the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State, right now, they don't play this week. So their resume will look like their wins: 0 elite wins, 6 good wins, 5 expected wins. And they'll have no elite win to speak of. Even if I extended the elite label to top 15 because Michigan is 15, Ohio State will have 1 elite win, but that Michigan win at 15 versus a Clemson win at 1. Okay. Stanford. Stanford has one elite win, six expected wins, no, six good wins, and two expected wins. So their schedule has been a it's been harder than Ohio State's and Carolina's win. But even that was mentioned. Something was mentioned earlier to the fact where Carolina actually has a better strength of record than Stanford, and what that means is that it'll be harder for a team to go 11-1 with Carolina's schedule than the same team to go 10-2 on Stanford's schedule. That's important here. Also, Stanford has one elite win, that Notre Dame win at the last second. That win compared to a Clemson win at one, plus Stanford has their two losses. Who are you picking then? Who are you picking then? So it's problematic, and like people say, Carolina's at number 10. Like I cannot reasonably assume that Carolina made that kind of jump to go to a top 4 team if they beat Clemson this Saturday. That's a big jump. But it was all set up from the beginning. And I don't like that, and I don't appreciate it. But I guess that's out of our control. The only thing the Tar Heels can do is win, and we'll see what happens. It is what it is. Because at the very least, if we win, we should be in a New Year's Six game. At the very least. And that'll be a phenomenal season. Even if we lose, it's still a phenomenal season. But there's something about this team. I like this team a lot. And I think this team will go out there and leave it all in the field. And the best they can do is win, and it is what it is. I mean, the committee wants to be shady, let them be shady. It is what it is. They've been shady with us all season long. So, we're going to keep winning. It is ship week. We're going to win this championship. UNC versus Clemson, 8 o'clock in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium. Broadcast on ABC. Go Hills, beat Clemson.